So I was getting ready to go to work, and then I came across this article at Bounding into Comics about a potential buyout of ViacomCBS. And of course, with that goes Star Trek. So the rumor came from Grace Randolph and suggested that Viacom is ripe for takeover in its current condition. And that she seemed to suggest that Netflix might be in the game for purchasing ViacomCBS. While at the same time, there's still rumors that Apple might buy Disney, but that's another story. ViacomCBS seems the one that'd be the more likely of the two, considering its situation. And but it's not just Grace Randolph. As the article shows that the financial website Seeking Alpha published an article by Tom White, and he flat out said that ViacomCBS is prime to take over material here. And based on its current stock price, the totality of the company's assets are not fully valued by the market, which is why a potential acquirer could buy them at a discount. Oh boy, that sounds great, doesn't it? And I mean, they own a lot of interesting properties. They have the rights to The Godfather, Mission Impossible, the Titanic, as well as Showtime, Nickelodeon, Comedy Central, MTV, BET, and publisher Simon & Schuster. Although I thought I had heard that they had sold Simon & Schuster, so I don't know if that's available anymore if you purchase Viacom's CBS. So anyway, he suggests top distributors should consider acquiring the company to lock down the rights to the content and add it to their own library. So Grace Randolph had mentioned Netflix, and he says, yeah, Netflix could be in the running, or certainly be interested. But the problem is that he says they don't really have the cash on hand. They only have $5 billion in cash. Only $5 billion. Oh, that's too bad. So they would have to borrow money, and that sort of put themselves in debt in order to acquire it. And then you got to bet that it'll pay off once you make the purchase to put yourself in that debt. And that's the risk there. But there's a lot of material here that they could exploit, and beyond all that was listed, there's SpongeBob SquarePants, all this stuff that they've got could make worth the gamble, but still, you're in that position. Meanwhile, Amazon seems a more likely player here to jump in, and because they do have the cash, and could just go ahead and absorb this. And there you would go. It would be all that property would belong to Amazon then, and taking in CBS would go along with their purchase of the Washington Post and all that. It would probably just kind of merge all that in for that entity. So White concludes that they should offer between $25 to $30 billion in the purchase of the company. So that would make for the whole deal. So the article goes on about meanwhile, Viacom CBS CEO Bob Backer said, "Hey, everything's great, boy. We're going. Sky's the limit, But that's always the case. He's not going to. Oh my God, things look bad. I just hope it gets better. He can't do that. So I mean, you can give all these great speeches until suddenly the next day, okay, we're done, we're selling, goodbye. Shut the doors. So he goes on and on about all what they got going and CBS All Access and all that stuff, which I just don't see that surviving the streaming wars. I mean, I don't know how you make that work. But I mean, ultimately, if it got purchased by Amazon, there you go. It just gets absorbed into the Amazon. There is no CBS All Access. It's just, I suppose it could be a section of Amazon Prime called CBS, where it's all the CBS properties. Okay, but that's about all it would be, and inevitably a lot of this is, the giants will absorb what's left, because I just don't see, you can't have that many services, and you're subscribing to this one, you subscribe to that. I'm already maxed out on the ones I'm subscribed to. Can't do another. In fact, it gets to the point where you cancel one, replace it with another one. and, get what you wanted out of that one, cancel it, and do the, that's kind of how, maybe that would be the model of how this works for consumers. But I just don't think you can maintain all of them. So anyway, but the whole thing that I'm interested in here is Star Trek. Now, Star Trek, actually, sadly enough, I don't think holds the value as something like the Mission Impossible films and something like SpongeBob SquarePants, which is probably far more lucrative because of the damage that's been done to it by Alex Kurtzman and all that push they did to revitalize Star Trek and put it back out there and put new content from it, which was all good in the initiative, but how they did it, first of all, you need somebody who actually knows Star Trek. Instead of this, I'm just going to turn it into something else by stealing other plots and whatnot from other franchises and just sort of cobble it together and make it up as we go along. Yeah, no, that's not no. So this would be an opportunity under new ownership if they would hire someone better, like a Ronald D. Moore or someone along those lines, that could shepherd a Star Trek back to where it belongs, and yes, explore new avenues and whatnot through that. But it's got to be science fiction. It's got to have well-grounded plots and whatnot, and certainly based into science fiction. Now, Star Trek, when it comes to the comparison between Star Trek and Star Wars, Star Trek is the actual science fiction series, whereas Star Wars is more fantasy. And they don't really get bogged down in the explanations of everything. When they did, people got upset. The midichlorians and stuff. So but with Star Trek, there's a lot of that in there. Is it completely grounded in science fiction theories that are based on the projections of what might be possible in the future and stuff like that? Not always, but it's closer than most than not. It's not on the level of 2001, Space Odyssey and that sort of thing, but it's as close as you get as far as a regular, adventure series that people enjoy for entertainment purposes. But it needs to be grounded in that. Because it's so lost its way. Unlike Star Wars, which is horribly damaged for the treatment it did to its original characters in the sequels, that's the big wound to that franchise. No matter how good a Mandalorian or whatever else might be, that's always going to sting, and it just really drags it down. As for Star Trek, it's possible to save this thing. There's means by which you can either just completely ignore the Secret Hideout series. It's going to be a little hard to do with Picard, what they did to it, which has been in a lot of ways possibly worse than what Star Trek Discovery did. Star Trek Discovery is easily relegated to an alternate timeline, and you're good. You could do the same with Picard to a certain extent, but Patrick Stewart is in the show, so it's not like it's some other actor doing the role and all that. So, that's a tough one there, but that too could be relegated away to alternate timeline, and possibly you could restore Star Trek to its greatness. And as it is now, whatever it takes to get out of that the Bad Robot Secret Hideout contract would be for the best, because for whatever reason, I don't know what's going on with that company. They just cannot understand these properties and are stubborn about it, even when obvious failure. And so you course correct, it just can't seem to do it. So, it needs somebody who's more familiar with the material, and it can be salvaged. I don't know if Star Wars can do the same, and that's unfortunate. But Star Trek, there may be hope there. And I think ViacomCBS is certainly ripe for a takeover, and so this might actually come to fruition. But then again, it could still be a bad thing for Star Trek in the end, since they seem to be running out of people able to right the ship. All right, thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe, and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my many stores that have plenty of goodies for you, most notably my comic book Night. Oh, yeah. And you can catch my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, over at RadioMisfits.com. And, of course, you can also watch my videos over at BitChute.